Open-world video games appeal to players with non-linear gameplay, freedom of movement, and a variety of quests. Some games make you want to come back again and again, but sometimes it's better to try something completely new. Here are 10 of the most underrated open-world games that are definitely worth your time. Dead Rising 4 continues the tradition of the entire series, with Frank West in the title role and thousands of zombies to kill. But this Dead Rising game was unique in its own way. In other games in the series, you had to fight a timer and other restrictions that forced you to start the game over and over again to get to the real ending. In the fourth game, these restrictions are removed, and the player gets a freer experience. This approach has refreshed the game, and after 2 sequels of the same type, the series has become more colorful. And while some fans avoid the fourth part like fire, that shouldn't affect your choice. Dead Rising 4 is really worth your time, and now the annoying timer doesn't limit it. You have never before experienced being a zombie killer in such a relaxing format. In the not-too-distant future, Bolivia will fall into the hands of Santa Blanca, a ruthless drug cartel that spreads injustice and violence. Its goal is to create the largest narco-state in history. Create and fully customize your ghost, weapons, and gear. Enjoy complete freedom of playstyle. Lead your team and destroy the cartel alone or with up to 3 friends. Travel through Ubisoft's largest open world based on adventure and discover the diverse landscapes of the wild lands. The game has over 60 different modes of transport that will make your adventure much more interesting. The isometric RPG genre is popular and competitive, and trying to make an impression in a space ruled by heavy franchises like Diablo and Divinity Original Sin has never been easy. The developers of 7 The Days Long Gone tried their best, focusing on parkour, stealth, and some inventive game mechanics. Some things worked out, some didn't, but what I can say for sure is that the open world and the story of the game are very exciting. If you're looking for a game that approaches open world design from a slightly different angle and has a compelling story that really draws you in, then 7 The Days Long Gone is worth checking out. Many of the technical issues that plagued the game at launch have now been fixed, so gameplay is much better. The release of Just Cause 3 was marred by numerous bugs that greatly affected the fans' first impressions. But since then, 5 massive patches have been released that have managed to make the game what it was intended to be from the very beginning. With one of the largest maps in the entire genre, Just Cause 3 gives players the opportunity to create as much destruction as possible. Jumping from helicopter to helicopter and blowing up obstacles on your way, you can get more impressions from the third game than from the previous 2 combined. The developers have managed to fit into the game countless different ways in which you can destroy whatever you want. In fact, the plot in this game is just an excuse to give you the most destructive weapons in your hands and allow you to move freely through the expanse of a huge island. Prototype, which came out in 2009, didn't worry much about plot or character development. Its main goal was to allow the player to create as much chaos as possible in the sandbox the developers built. Activision's open world was nothing short of crazy fun, bribing the player with countless superpowers that made wiping out the population even more interesting. Despite Prototype's weak storyline, it was the ability to do whatever you want that made the game what we know it to be. The second game, not far removed from its predecessor, may have passed many players by, but that doesn't mean it's not worth your attention. Both games are worthy of returning to them even after years. Perhaps it is this crazy chaos that you missed so much. Retro City Rampage is a game with a retro gaming reference. The events taking place in Theftropolis are reminiscent of the early Grand Theft Auto games, with a top-down view. Blank was able to create an open world that is filled with adventures inspired by the 8-bit era. Theftropolis City combines massive skyscrapers and dive bars, offering players many options for action. The game has about 50 story missions, responsive gameplay, and very nervous police. Retro City Rampage is the perfect choice for gamers who miss the original GTA. Some pseudoscientists claim that games teach us nothing. Of course, this is not true. For example, a couple of hours of playing Red Faction Guerrilla, the gamer will master the skills of a bomber, learn how to blow up bridges, and conduct daring operations using mined trucks. The events of the game take place in 2125. Alec Mason flies to Mars, where his brother meets him, but he does not get to spend much time in the company of a relative because a few hours later Daniel Mason dies. The Earth Defense Force, which liberated the Red Planet from tyranny, tyranny is to blame for this tragic event. History repeats itself. The unfortunates once again bend their backs, and there is no end in sight. The EDF lives in a rich area that is impossible to penetrate, and all subordinate territories are under strict control. And of course, the rebel Red faction is reborn from the ashes. Alec Mason is accused of participating in rebellious activities and is almost executed on the spot. The hero is saved by the opposition, and he has no choice but to join the resistance. Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen is a Japanese role-playing game in the Western RPG style. The game offers a unique approach to the party system, requiring each player to create a companion, who is then loaned to other players. They learn more about the world, which in turn helps the protagonist. With the ability to freely switch between 9 different classes, you can deftly jump over large opponents to strike at their weak points, or summon devastating magical storms and meteors to destroy hordes of enemies. Some players say Dragon's Dogma is a better dragon game than Skyrim. Fans also enjoy the anime on Netflix based on this game. Fans of Jet Set Radio should definitely check out Hover. The open-world parkour game has a serious factor that is still underestimated. There's a real style to Hover's aesthetic, from the stunning alien world graphics to the techno beats that help keep the game moving at a frenetic pace. The movement mechanics are so comfortable that when you get into the rhythm of the game, nothing can compare to it. In short, players control a group of young rebels fighting against the new laws oppressing the city. You'll use high-tech equipment to jump around the city, sabotaging propaganda and helping citizens along the way. Although you could expect anything from the series after Unity's failure, the new Syndicate turned out to be a pretty good return to old traditions. London, 1868. The Industrial Revolution, the era of incredible inventions. Previously unthinkable technologies are changing the lives of millions of people. People flock to London, inspired by new opportunities, eager to become part of a new world that will not be dominated by kings, emperors, politicians, and priests. You will plunge into the dynamic and dangerous lives of 2 assassins, Jacob and Evie Fry, who are twins with a very simple but ambitious goal: to free London from oppression. Despite the family ties, the characters are extremely opposite in nature. Jacob, an eloquent brawler, used to solving everything with his fists. Evie, on the other hand, is cautious and thoughtful. Constantly being in rivalry, the twins exchange witty phrases. Watching their dialogues is a pleasure. If you know of other underrated open-world games, feel free to leave any comments here. If you liked this video, share it with your friends and subscribe to my channel.